All right, hello everybody. I think we're about ready to get started. Might be a couple people that trickle in. But TravelCon gave me the privilege of being in the opening time slot, so I guess I get to get it over with because speaking is not my typical thing. But I'm really excited to talk to you guys and kind of see if hopefully I can give you something of value. So let's get started on how to make friends in hostels without getting robbed. No, I actually made that slide like 2 minutes ago because I thought it would be funny. Literally while you were here, I'm surprised none of you saw. The revenue you're leaving on the table, so obviously all of you here probably at least like money to some degree, so it's kind of important to what we do. Can't really make a sustainable travel life if you don't have any income. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you can stop leaving revenue on the table. Can everybody hear me okay, by the way? Cool. All right, awesome. This is going to be more of a workshop. I just want to kind of talk to you like I'm at a coffee shop with 50 of my friends. And yeah, so I'm going to get a little vulnerable in the beginning because I figured maybe that's a good way to open. I have two fears. They're death, which I oddly faced in Utah not that long ago, hiking in a place called the Cosmic Ashtray. If you've ever been there, it's really cool and also kind of dangerous at night. Public speaking is the other one, so I'm going to face both of thank you. I'm going to face both of my fears in Utah, I guess. But it's actually, if you haven't been here before, by the way, this is one of my favorite states. One of the most naturally beautiful states, in my opinion, up there with like Washington, California. An incredible place. So, and I want to give you a little bit about my story. So from childhood, I, to be honest, had a really difficult upbringing. I was pretty poor, did not have a lot of opportunities, lived in a trailer park, not a very nice one. And yeah, I say all that because it really gave me a hunger to get out of that life. If you've experienced something like that, it puts a fire inside of you of like, this isn't going to be my life. So that led me to doing really well in school, being super overperformative. Like I'm talking about A's in every single class from kindergarten all the way up until through college. I went to school for engineering, chased the American dream. I thought that was going to be, as someone that came from a really poor background, I heard about engineering, doctors, lawyers. I was like, okay, these are the people that are the most successful people in the world. They make the most money in the world, or so I thought. And that's what I'm going to do. So I went all the way through school, went through college, spent 4 years to get that degree, spent 4 years studying under another engineer to become an engineer. And I realized I hated it. So that was a huge waste of time. And basically, after that, I was like, okay, I have to go do something else. I can't sit in an office all day, 60 hours a week, just because I think I can make money doing this. So I was like, what else can I do? So I moved on to entrepreneurship, which all the creators in the room have moved on to that as well. So when I moved on to entrepreneurship, I was like, what am I going to do? So I was like, I'll get into real estate. Maybe it'll be more of a free lifestyle. Hopefully I can make some money. I didn't make any money for 9 months. Really horrible. I was really bad at sales. And I essentially was not very happy with what was going on. So I went to my friend who was one of the best in the business. And this was after my manager told me that they were going to fire me because I needed to do something else in my life because I was that bad. And and my friend looked at me, this guy was really successful, especially to me, looking up to him at the time. He was making many hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, doing the same thing I was doing, making $0 a year. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? Should I just go back to engineering? And he said, I've watched you the last 9 months do horrible. And the one thing that is stopping you is that you haven't burned the ships. And so that is the first thing I want to tell you is if you are not fully committed to something, if you don't dive completely in, then you are never going to be really successful at it. And so that was the first thing I had to do because he told me I was always saying things like, I guess I could always go back to engineering. I could always fall back on this thing. But if you want to be making the most money you ever have, if you want to be the most successful creator you can be, you need to be all in, and you have to be ready to say, I'm not going back to whatever I'm doing. If you're doing this as a, I don't know if, is anyone in here doing this as a side hustle and not a full-time creator right now? Okay, awesome. In 1 year, please DM me, and if you are still doing this as a side hustle, then it's okay if that's your plan, if that's what you want to do, you love your career, but please don't give yourself more than a year to make this your full-time income, because if you truly commit to it, that is where you're going to really find a lot of progress. So all that to say, as an entrepreneur, I took his advice. I was like, okay, I'm going to go all in on this thing. I'm never going back to real estate. And that day I committed. I was never going to go back no matter what happened. Literally the next year, I became one of the top producers in the company. And within 3 or 4 years, I was one of the top in the state. I had my first $100,000 month, and that was profit, not revenue. And I realized that it was something that I had to apply to everything in my life, that you have to be all in or else you're never going to make it. I hired my first mentor. That was scary for me. I started investing in business, and I realized that like investing in yourself is something you have to be ready to do. So then what happened after that? How did I get out of real estate? Because obviously, okay, you're making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Why are you going to stop doing this? Well, COVID happened. I was still making hundreds of thousands of dollars, but my parents died, both of them in the same year. And that was hard. And I realized that life was super short. Sorry, I knew that one was going to get me. I realized life was super short. My dad died pretty suddenly. About 3 weeks after I found out he was going to die, he died. About 6 months later, my mom relapsed and overdosed. And I realized life was super short, so I wasn't gonna let myself stay in a job that I was just making a lot of money in, but I wasn't passionate about, I wasn't excited about. I wanted to travel the world, and I said, you know what, screw it, that's what I'm gonna do. At that point, it was like 2021, and I saw other people doing it, and I was like, this is possible. I know I can figure out a way to monetize this, to make money, and so that is what I decided to do. So another thing I want you to realize is opportunity costs. So this is really, really huge, because I know there are a lot of creators out there that are doing deals for free. They have this FOMO of, oh my gosh, if I don't work with this big brand wants to work with me, but they don't have a lot of budget, so I need to do this so I can get this on my media kit. What if I don't get another opportunity like this? I really want you to say this out loud with me, and also because it helps just ingrain it in your mind. But if everyone in the room can say, I run a business, not a charity, and that is okay. Can you say that for me? Okay, it's okay for you to make money. Most of the brands that you're working with, if you are ever working with brands for free, they're making money, and they're making money because of you too. So if they're making money, it's okay for you to make money. So the next thing, I want you to say this with me. I know it's cheesy, but just say it with me. I provide incredible value to my audience and my clients. I provide incredible value to my audience and my clients. Awesome. All right, I won't make you do that very often, just for that slide. Okay, so this is kind of the pattern for today. I want to go through different types of income streams, how to get those income streams, and how to systemize it. And essentially, I want you to take one thing away from today. I'm going to go through a lot of stuff, probably pretty quickly on some of it, but don't try and like take in everything. Some of you are already going to know a lot of this stuff. Some of you it'll be brand new, because I've already talked to some of you that are at totally different levels in the game. But if you can learn one thing from this that makes you an extra $10,000 or $50,000 this year or whatever it is, then great. So first is your foundation. I don't know how many of you have these things, but if you don't have a professional dedicated email, please get one. You do not need a Gmail or an Outlook or any of those things. Buy a domain for like $10, and it should be either your name or your handle or something like that at the end. This will make a huge difference in what brands will pay you. I'm telling you, it looks totally different to have at travelwithdalt.com. You look like a business, not somebody who has a different job. Have a business entity. I'm not a lawyer, any of those things, but you need a business entity. I've had everything from LLCs to S-corps, Most of you starting out probably an LLC makes the most sense. Business bank account, a business credit card, and an accountant or bookkeeping help. Accountants are really cheap when you're not making a lot of money. So if you're not making a lot of money, it's not an excuse. It's like $300 to $500 a year. Once you make more money, my accountant's too expensive now. But, but it doesn't matter. If you start making enough money, you won't care anymore. All right, types of monetization. I'm gonna go through a number of these fairly quickly because we don't have a ton of time. But who here is monetizing in at least one way? Okay, most of you are monetizing in at least some way, okay? Who has at least 4 or 5 different types of income from your content? Okay, yeah, you better. I have a mentee in the room, so. Then anyone in here who has at least 8 different types of monetization from their platform? Okay, nice, awesome. It's good to see one in there. It's okay if you don't have to do all these things. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over a few of these. Direct platform monetization. Who is this for? This is for everyone, okay? If you're on any platforms, whether you blog and you have Mediavine or Journey, those are ads on your website, right? If you have an Instagram, Instagram will pay you. They previously were doing Reels bonuses. They've changed the name a bunch of times. Facebook breakthrough bonus. How much are these gonna make you? It depends. Facebook, I don't look at them anymore, but I think they're usually paying me like $1,000 a month or something. It's not a ton, but it's just for posting your content. You don't have to do that much. You just post anyway, right? So sign up for the bonus. If you're posting on Facebook and you're not getting that money, why? Threads. Unfortunately, Threads sucks, so they're not paying anymore. But they used to pay, I think mine used to be $5,000 a month for literally posting like 2 sentences a day. Okay, so when these programs come out, pay attention to them because sometimes they are significant money. $5,000 a month for tweeting, essentially, is pretty good money. TikTok creator rewards, okay? YouTube AdSense. If you're on YouTube, I don't do long format YouTube, but I have friends who make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars just off of their AdSense each year. All right. So systemizing this, if you aren't doing this already, then just cross-platform post. You can either hire a VA to do that for you. If you're a solo creator and you have the time and you're essentially able to do that on your own, that's fine. You can use apps like Repost.io. I don't recommend that because I do believe they throttle the Repost.io stuff, even though they say they don't. So personally, I would do it yourself, or I would get a VA to do it or hire someone. UGC and stock. Stock doesn't pay like it used to anymore if you've ever done stock footage, but if you're a really good videographer or cinematographer, whatever you do, if you do photography, I do recommend this if you don't have a super large audience, but this is still a way you can monetize. UGC, anyone in here do UGC? Awesome, okay. Nothing wrong with UGC. I think it is best to focus your time on that when you have a smaller audience, like 50 or 100,000 followers or less. Then after that, there's only about 10% of UGC deals that I recommend. The reason why is because most UGC deals aren't gonna pay you, most UGC deals aren't gonna be more than $5,000. Like, they're just not. There's a few out there that might be $5,000 to $15,000. Those are really good UGC deals. So once you get a larger audience and you have higher reach, I don't recommend focusing on that as much. When you're smaller, I really think it's a good way to drive income and invest that back in your business. Okay, so what you're charging for in UGC, you're essentially charging for all the production and for your IP licenses. So if you are doing UGC, those people, can you raise your hand again? Okay, keep your hand up if you are charging extra for your licenses, basically if they're running ads, any of that stuff. Okay, for the people who put their hands down, just make sure that you are charging extra for those things and that you're asking them if they want that. If you do UGC for someone and they're not licensing it or not running ads on it, don't stop there, upsell them to that. Let them know that you offer that, okay? Affiliate marketing. So that's essentially you're turning trust into revenue, right? You want to link anything you're using, whether it's gear, tours, hotels, eSIMs, all of that stuff, right? A lot of times you can get paid on top of this for working with the brand themselves. That's almost always what I do. I usually don't focus much on affiliate marketing without having a paid deal attached to it. But there are tons of platforms out there that can help you with this. I know Elaine is here. I don't know if she's in the room, but she's with Rockport. They offer a lot of different tracking through there. But these can be on your website. These can be on your actual Instagram, your other platforms, right? If you are doing affiliate links and that is big for you, if you do a lot of gear reviews, that's going to be huge. Does anyone in here do a lot of reviews in general or highly informational content, detailed content? Okay, you're probably already doing affiliates because you're bottom of funnel. You're somebody who is at the decision-making process as your audience, right? You're giving them a lot of information, they're researching a topic. If you're more top of funnel, this doesn't pay off as well. But if people are searching for the best rain shell out there, and you are a gear review person, and you've got a lot of those reviews, there's a high chance that your actual click-through rate and conversion rate is gonna be good. You're gonna get paid more on this, right? So essentially you need to identify those products that you use a lot. You need to join those affiliate programs and then share them. You do need to remember this type of thing is typically a 7 to 12 exposure rate. So if you're not making a lot of money or have low conversions on your affiliate links, you need to be significantly posting more, right? If you post about something one time, your audience doesn't see that as genuine or as, oh, they really use this product. If you've posted about it 10 times, there's a good chance they will actually buy from you because you've provided a lot more value, okay? All right, places this can live. In your blog, in your highlights. If you don't, does anyone here do affiliate links and does Instagram and doesn't have a highlight for all their products? If you don't, then that should be one of your first highlights. That's okay if you don't. That should be one of your first highlights, and you need to update that highlight consistently so that it always moves to the front if affiliates is big on your income stream. Because a lot of people do rewatch those highlights. So if you don't have a gear highlight or hotels highlight, if you do a lot of hotel content, you should absolutely have a highlight that says my favorite stays, and it should be in your top 3 highlights. Okay, am I going too fast? Am I going good? Everyone's okay? All right, cool. Digital products. These can range anything from basic digital products to really advanced complicated digital products, and they can span the gamut as far as cost, right? So anyone in here selling digital products actively? Raise your hand. Okay, cool, awesome. If possible, I would try and get that number up to like all of you. There is a digital product for everyone that can work, okay? It doesn't have to be complicated. You can literally, if that's your one thing you take away from this, you can go home and make a digital product today, and by the time you eat dinner, you could have your digital product at least ready to go. Simple ones, the basic ones that start out with like PDF guides, checklists, templates, whatever it is. You don't even have to charge for it at first if you're nervous about that. This you can give away for free if you want, just to test it and make yourself feel comfortable. You can then create intermediate digital products, travel maps, itineraries, mini courses, and then we can go on to like advanced full-on courses, private communities, product suites, whatever you want, right? I have friends selling courses making literally millions of dollars a year, like millions. Just on the course, not on other things, not on social media in general. All right, so who's this best for? This can work for anyone, again. It doesn't matter what size your audience is, as long as you have a clear niche and someone you can sell to, an audience you can sell to. There are people doing this all outside of the travel industry too, with things like how to sew or whatever it is. How many in here, I have a question, how many in here have been traveling for at least 5 years? Frequently. Okay, almost everyone. Even if every single one of you put out like a travel hack guide, there would be something different of value in every single one of those guides. Like how many stupid things did you do your first year of travel that you don't do now? So sell that for $5 to 1,000 people, that's $5,000, and then make it better, charge $20 and sell it to another 1,000 people, okay? You can have your beta test group. That's what a beta test group for your digital product is pretty common. That's something you're going to sell it cheap or free, ask for feedback. People are going to give you feedback because you gave them something for free. Make it better, charge more for it, and then word of mouth helps spread it as well. All right, so personal access. This is essentially access to you. These can be through things like group trips, communities, exclusive content. This is for everyone too, but you have to do it the right way once you scale. So if you are newer, group trips, let's say you have an audience of 10,000 or something like that. This group trips can be a really great way for you to make money. Once you're getting into the making several $100,000 a year, $1 million a year plus, group trips in small tiers either have to be a passion project or they typically don't work out money-wise unless you're doing some pretty expensive luxury trips can still make sense if they're $30,000 a person, stuff like that. However, the way you can really scale this is you can do things like charters. You can sell out large group trips or events. So for anyone in the neighborhood of like an audience of 100,000 or less or a couple 100,000 or less, you're probably going to be, it's still going to make sense for you to do group trips of 10 to 20 people, right? And then if you want to keep this on your list of how to scale and still make money, make it worth your while, let's say you're already making, I don't know, $40,000, $50,000 a month consistently. It's not going to make sense for you to make $10,000 on a 10-person group trip a lot of times, right? Because there's a lot of effort on the front end and back end. But you can do things. I know a creator who charters river cruises. So she charters the whole river cruise several times a year, and then she sells it to a few hundred people and makes maybe $100,000 per 1 to 2 weeks of that river cruise, right? Okay, so another way you're leaving money on the table. Who in here has built an email list? Okay, so many more of you than I thought. That's awesome. That has changed a lot in the last year or two because there was not a huge push for email lists 1 or 2 years ago, and I've seen the push come. So that's really great. If you haven't built an email list, that's okay. It's just have a free offer if you can, like your free little digital product. Auto DM response. If anyone in here has used auto DMs before, raise your hand if you use like ManyChat or Link DM or any of those. Cool. So for anyone who doesn't know how that works, it's whenever you see the whole like comment whatever, and then you get an automatic DM, okay? Comment Cambodia, and I'll send you my Cambodia guide, and then it automates that sending to you. Then there's a paywall, and you get someone to sign up for an email. That's literally how it works. Now, what are you going to do with all those emails? You are going to bombard people with emails like the people that you hate that bombard you with emails. But, or you're going to send out a newsletter once a week or once a month. That's fine if that's what you do too. However, if you are selling stuff, you're going to email people a lot, pretty frequently. And because you have that 7 to 12 times exposure rate that people need before they buy. But you're not going to do it all the time. You're going to do that when you do a launch or you sell a product that's big or whatever, right? And then you're going to warm the audience up maybe once a week or once a month the rest of the year, and then you're going to have either a big group trip or you're going to have a big launch for a product, and that is how you're going to scale that, is by having a really warm audience in your emails that you own that audience. All right, a lot of you don't realize, and I say you, creators in general, and maybe all of you do realize it, you're at this talk, so you don't realize the value you bring. So anyone in here work on the brand side before content creation was a big thing and social media was a big thing? Cool. So you did a couple people. Okay. Production teams are really expensive. Like marketing before creators was super expensive. So here's a list of some of the different people that you would bring in when you're doing an ad campaign. Like if you used to watch, I don't know, PBS or whatever networks you used to watch, right? There's a lot that went into making those commercials, and those audiences were typically curated audience. You built a network around whatever the topic was, whether it was ESPN and all that stuff, and these ad spaces were sold to people who were going to be interested in those products. You are now doing the exact same thing, you're just doing it on a smaller scale, but they don't have to hire 9 or 10 different crews to do this. You're doing all of that work. So whenever you quote a brand, like the next time you quote a brand, a number that you think is huge, just remember, most brands, that's not a lot of money. So you're probably underpricing yourself. All right, repeat after me, cheesy. I'm a full service creative agency. All right. With built-in distribution, trust, and audience context. Yeah, it sounds really fancy, but it basically means you do a lot of different jobs, okay? All right, you aren't fishing with a fishing pole. That is a problem for some people. And when I say a fishing pole, I mean the basics of pitching, using platforms. Some of the ones I still use that I actually think are good. There are a lot of terrible ones that have come into the game now, but Popular Pays, Aspire, hashtag paid. You can regularly find brand deals that will pay really well on there and some really reputable brands. Pitching. Okay, how many people in here pitch in their DMs, like who are in brands' DMs to pitch? Okay, good. Still a lot of you that aren't doing that, so that is a really, really great way to pitch. Why is that a great way to pitch? Because a lot of brands, they've come into the space in different ways, but a lot of brands have come into the social media marketing space, hiring social media marketing managers that actually are involved on the Instagram side. Sometimes that's the decision maker, and sometimes it's not. But they almost always have the contact for the decision maker or know the process. So pitching in the DMs gets you the right person most of the time. Okay, if you are cold pitching in the DMs, that's okay sometimes, especially if you have a larger following. Your DMs are usually prioritized, but you should really warm pitch in DMs. So make sure you're doing things like flirting with the brand. Make sure you're following them first. If it's a brand you really want to work with, follow them, comment on their posts for a couple of weeks even, and that's going to get you a long way to actually having your account not only associated with them in the algorithm, but so that those social media managers and the people that they hire that operate that account see you over and over again. It's going to make your conversions much better. It really does. All right, email pitches and negotiations, that's what you're typically going to use email for. Events like this, if you do go to a lot of events like this, relationship building is huge. I became really successful in real estate because I learned to be really good. I might not be a great speaker, but I became really good at talking to people one-on-one and really good at selling. And events like this is one of the few places that you're going to be face-to-face with actual decision makers who work with the brands, okay? You're usually not going to walk up to like Merrill's corporate office and try and find the social media manager, but they do come to events like this. It is a small world. So who out here knows what I mean when I say it's a small world in this space and when you're trying to work with brands and all? Because it's the same people over and over again. The big agencies, the brands that do work with agencies, they work with like the same 5 to 10, 50% of them. And then you have another 20 agencies that have another like 20% of the contracts, and then you have 200 agencies that have what's left. So I see a ton of the same agencies working across, usually in the same categories, but working across brand models. So build those relationships, and once you get the right ones, a lot of times you'll find you're working with them again and again. How do you know when you've really got good relationships with and I'm talking about brand agencies, not the agencies on the creator side. So the way to know if you've got really good relationships with your brand agencies is if you have their phone numbers and if you have their WhatsApps. I am telling you, once you have somebody's WhatsApp and their phone number and your friends, you are going to get picked for like every freaking campaign that they have. So if you can get there, try and get there. Next, I will say the same companies are working, once they've built out their social media marketing teams, once they've built out that side of their marketing business, they are running campaigns like clockwork every quarter, right? So you want those repeat companies. Something you can do today to help optimize the way you're pitching in DMs and emails. If you don't have email pitch templates, definitely make several. You typically need one for like each category that you work in. So especially if you don't have employees yet, if you haven't hired anyone, and if you don't have an agency that is pitching for you, then definitely have at least 2 different ones. Depending on whether you're pitching DMOs or you're pitching hotels or you're pitching brands, you need different email templates because they should be personally crafted. They should be edited every time. You need to make sure you have different links in there with different case studies, okay? So if you're pitching a hotel and you pitch an email that just says, this is how many followers I have and this is some of my numbers and whatever, but you don't put in any of your hotel examples or your past links to your past content, then your conversion is going to be a lot lower. One more thing, text replacement. Text replacement is one of the best things you can use for DM pitches. If you have when you're pitching in DMs, you are literally just trying to get a contact. You're trying to figure out whether or not you have the right contact or you need a different email contact, okay? So have those text replacements where you can just type I think I used to have like PTB, that's like pitch tourism board, or PB for pitch brand, and that literally inserts the template for asking for the contact, and then change a couple words. All right, you are trying to work with brands that are not social media marketing focused. There are brands out there that are not in the social media marketing space yet, or they haven't budgeted for it yet. They're usually in like the discovery phase. So maybe let's just to give you a picture of how this works if you're not on the brand side. Maybe depending on the size of the brand, they decide, okay, we're going to get into social media marketing. We want to try it and just see if it works. We have a $50,000 budget for this year for social media marketing, right? That's a really small budget for social media marketing for a lot of brands. You get these other brands that have been doing it for several years because they've already proven that it works. They see the ROI, they see that they like working with creators, and they've built out teams. They have millions and millions of dollars in budget per year. So you need to find the brands that have social media marketing budgets. What I have always found works really well is finding those brands that already have sponsored posts out there, saving them to an Instagram album that's like collabs album, whatever it is. If you list out 20 brands you want to work with, go look at their pages, go over to their tagged posts specifically, okay, and find a sponsored post. Once you find the sponsored post, most brand campaigns run on a single hashtag or 2 hashtags, 3 hashtags. So those are required to be in they're supposed to be in every single sponsored post. Not everybody does it. So search that hashtag and you literally have all of the sponsored posts that brand has done right there, okay? So you know who are these brands working with, what kind of content is being posted. And once you can look at that, you figure out the brand's style, you figure out how often they're working with creators, what creators they're working with and why. Analyze those posts, analyze those creators. Are you doing the same things that they're doing? Are you creating posts like that? And then you know to pitch those brands. If you really want to work with, I don't know, these speakers are made by Rockville. If you really want to work with Rockville, because you're maybe in the audio side of things, and you look up their Instagram and they don't have any sponsored posts, but you're constantly trying to pitch them, that makes no sense. They don't do social media marketing. Why are you wasting your time pitching them? Like if you really want to work with, National Geographic does work with creators, but if they didn't, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to work with National Geographic, but I waste all my time trying to work with brands like that and they don't do social media marketing, that's just the wrong way to go about it. So instead, find brands that are working with them. The next thing I really want you to do is network with creators. Those same creators that are working with those brands, don't be afraid to follow them and interact with them, meet them. I know a number of creators in this room that I've become friends with because we've worked on the same jobs or for all different reasons, right? But if you don't love being social, then you're probably in the wrong space anyway. But you should be networking with these creators, because I message creators all the time and I say, hey, I saw you work, creators that I've talked to before, not cold messaging them. And I say like, hey, I saw you worked with so-and-so brand. How much did you charge? What were your deliverables? Did you like working with them? And they message me the same things too. And that's fine because we are coworkers. We're not just competition, right? You need a front-end follow-up system, by the way, if you don't have a CRM, like a client resource manager. If you don't have that, then you should. If you don't really know how CRM works, look that up. We don't have time to go over it, but you need a follow-up system because most of these brands, you are going to need to maintain contact. So if you're not making I touched on this already, if you're not making the content brands are paying for it, voiceovers, direct-to-camera, and UGC style content, those are all pretty popular right now. Brands are really in demand for voiceovers and direct-to-camera stuff because it's doing well on social media and it also converts well. High-performing content is really great. I have a lot of high-performing content, but I also have some content that sucks in performance metrics. And I have signed deals for many, many 5-figure deals that didn't perform well that I got rehired for because they loved the style, they loved the content, and they loved that the audience that it reached was still the audience they were looking for. So for some brands, they're really, really CPM and ROI heavy, so they're not getting return on investment, or if they're not getting the right cost per mil or whatever, then they might not hire again, right? But there are lots of other brands too that are looking for not just metrics, but for style and consistency with their brand messaging. But of course, obviously, the brands that are doing looking for high-performing content, you want to have that as well because you're going to get a lot of jobs for your high-performing content. So fishing with a net, this is the next thing. You want to have brands coming to you. You want to have those inbounds. I'm not talking about the millions of inbounds that you get from like fake companies and scams or any of that stuff, because I know we all deal with that. But how can you get these inbounds? So you need an iconic profile photo that doesn't change or doesn't change much for a very, very long time, okay? If you change your profile photo, make sure it's still brand consistent. It still shows your face so that people recognize you and know who you are. They should know who you are immediately by seeing your profile picture. Your content, okay? You need to create content. If you don't have any hotel content, hotels aren't gonna wanna work with you. If you don't have any airline content, airlines aren't gonna wanna hire you. So make some of that content. Spend your own money and do it at first. Okay, if that's what you need to do. If you have zero content of you riding in business class, do some points and miles or something and get in business class and do a review so that you have some stuff you can send to a brand when you pitch. All right, your email, again, I touched on that. Have a professional email. Make sure you have some credibility. SEO optimized bio. I don't know if it's big enough for you to see up here, but these terms in the top where you see adventure travel after Dalton Hunter, that is all SEO optimized. So you need to make sure that you are looking for you have the keywords that you want up there, as well as the other 3 lines that you see down there. Your email, please have your email on your profile. If a brand wants to work with you and they have no way to contact you, you just lost who knows how many thousands of dollars, okay? Have where you are based. There is a huge difference in what, and I'm sorry for anyone who's not from the US because it has nothing to do with me, but US-based creators get paid more. It's just how it is. So if you are US-based and you don't have that in your profile, please put that in your profile. Wherever you're based, put it in your profile anyway, because there are a lot of times localized campaigns where you're not gonna get hired for it because they didn't know that's where you were from. So all of that is definitely going to be important for you to have, especially just put your location in there. Make sure your media kit is optimized. Does everyone here have a media kit? Raise your hand if you got a media kit, because you're all nodding heads is making me dizzy. Okay, so if you have a regular media kit, like a PDF or attachable one, great. Please also have a digital media kit. This is super handy and useful, especially when you're doing email pitches and stuff like that. You don't have to worry about attachments not coming through or etc. So I have both, but I think everyone should have both, honestly. Make sure you include your metrics across platforms, your demographics, past clients, testimonials, case studies, and offerings. Really quick, let me see if I can shoot over to this. I'm not trying to say I have the best media kit in the world, but it has what it should have on it, okay? All right, these pictures from forever ago, these are horrible. They're not even good, but it doesn't matter. Let's see. Okay, so have some photos on there just to showcase that you take photos, right? All right, then down here, this just has some of my stats and metrics on it. Have logos from brands you've worked with so they can see you have past experience, especially if you have reputable brands you've worked with. That says a lot about what type of companies you work with and what tier of companies you work with. Have testimonials and reviews. Have you ever had a friend come to you and say, like, this is the best place I've ever eaten? Like, oh my gosh, you have to try it. You're gonna go eat at that place, right? So if you have companies that are saying, like, this says, we experienced a major boost to our websites and flurry of interest in our beach villas. We would choose him again in a heartbeat, right? That makes you feel much safer about that choice. You're more likely to go with it. And of course, if you have companies that are the type of companies you want to work with, like Garmin, whatever, if those are the type of companies you're going after, please write an email and get a review from them. Case studies. Does everyone have case studies on their media kit? Raise your hand if you have case studies. Okay, cool. Less people that have case studies, but essentially this is just showing what happened whenever you did your brand deal. If you can show that on your media kit, it's a lot less questions that you have to answer before the decision maker can make a decision. All right, do not put pricing on your media kit, please. All right, let's see. Hold on. All right, I don't have a ton of time left, but so again, you are offering a ton of different things, so make sure you are charging for every single thing that is in your contract. If licensing is in your contract but you didn't discuss that when you quoted it, make sure that you either take it out or charge for it. Tight timelines, collab posts, organic rights. I don't typically charge for organic rights that are in my fee, but if that's an add-on for you, make sure you charge for it. If you're producing a resource or a guide, I've had some content that I've made for companies where I've also guest written a blog and then I'll have a comment to DM. Those are great upsells. So if you're working with a tourism board and you can say, hey, I also blog write, what can be really effective for conversions is I make a post. Okay, that post goes out to my audience as well as other interested parties. When they comment, I give them a free guide to a guest blog that I wrote for your blog. You can charge thousands of dollars extra just for adding that on, and you can drive a lot more traffic and have heavier conversions that way. It works really well as a great upsell, is to produce an actual digital product for companies and tourism boards. So if you have no post-collab strategy, you are giving up a ton of money. What are things that you are doing hopefully every time after you have a collab? You should be sending KPIs, okay? That way they know what your performance was like. You should be using tracking links to figure out if you are linking things, what your performance was like. You need to ask for reviews. I have an automated review form that gets sent to any brand or client, and then they can give me a star rating and they can add a review. So it's super quick and easy to make sure I do it every time. Then you need to make sure you're upselling assets, ads. After you've completed the collab, it doesn't mean that they don't have any more budget. They might still have a lot more budget. So especially if you did a great job for them, let them know, hey, I have a ton of photo assets I took on this trip or of your product, and this is my pricing for that. Here's some examples, watermark them, and sell them that way. So pitch long-term partnerships. This is becoming bigger and bigger right now. There's a lot of brands that are looking to do more and more long-term collabs. And then cross-pitch subsidiaries. If you don't take anything else away from this, that should double your income next year. Most companies, I like to say the world is owned by like 5 different people. So most companies that you work with, they own 10 different brands that are usually in the same niche. So a good example would be like Counter Assault Bear Spray. They own multiple other outdoor companies. So if you worked with them, I say that because I'm working with them on their bear spray. If you worked with them on their bear spray, I've already cross-pitched them for 2 or 3 other products that they own that I'm going to probably work with them on those campaigns. All right, last few things. I think we're about out of time. Agencies and management. I like to say when you're small, self-manage. Doesn't make sense to give away typically around 20%. You also get to keep and maintain those relationships, which can be really valuable long-term. Eventually, you're going to get so busy that you probably do need to consider getting with an agency. If you do, that's totally fine. From there, eventually, you're going to be charging too much per brand deal to make it worth it. If you're paying your agent, if you're making $1 million a year in brand deals and you're paying your agency $200,000, stop paying your agency $200,000. You either need to get a fee cap model, reduce your agency fee, or you need to hire in-house management, which ultimately can make a lot more sense once you're at those tiers. All right, flat fee versus full service structure. This is just one piece of advice I want to give for DMOs. I've been really successful with this. DMOs love me for this. Tourism boards love me for this. I do not do reimbursables barely ever. Like, I do not want to send invoices for flights and meals and all this stuff. Please at least offer up the idea of a flat fee structure. I estimate all my costs up front. I add them into one package. I say, hey, here's how much you're paying me with my fee and everything. And they know exactly how much money they're spending, and they don't deal with any logistics or planning. I do all the planning, all the booking, all of that stuff, right? All right. Scaling. So really quick on scaling. Get systems in place is the first thing you can do. It's really cheap to get systems in place that can help you scale. Anyone in here who's making $200,000, $300,000 plus a year, you should already have systems in place. Then you need to look at getting support like VAs, contractors, employees, and management, have standard operating procedures for training, and then move on to growth through things like buying ads, mentorship, better offers, etc. Okay? Sorry, I'm going fast now because we're out of time. All right. Does anyone in here at least see one thing in this presentation that they could do differently or one way they can make more money? Raise your hand. Okay, cool. Hopefully I helped everybody at least with one thing. this was my first speaking thing ever. Hopefully I didn't do too bad. All right. Thank you so much. If anyone has questions, I think we're out of time, right? So if anyone has questions, I will hang around for a few minutes and you can just ask me personally because I want to respect the next speaker.